The alarm screamed through the bridge of the Kravar warship Thunderclaw. Commander Thrazzle rose from his command chair, his massive 8-foot frame casting shadows across the control panels. His natural armor plates shifted as he moved, dark purple scales catching the dim light of the ship's interior. "Report," he growled, his voice deep enough to vibrate the metal floor. "Distress signal from Mining Colony 749, Commander," his communications officer replied. "Pirates have taken hostages. 43 workers captured. The attackers are demanding ransom and safe passage." Thrazzle's 4 eyes narrowed. Pirates were becoming bold again. It had been years since anyone dared challenge Council authority so openly. Perhaps they had forgotten what happened to those who defied the Kravar. "Assemble Strike Team Beta," he ordered. 5 warriors, standard loadout. "We leave in 10 minutes. His second-in-command, a younger warrior named Vexra, stepped forward. "Commander, 40 pirates against 5 of us. Perhaps we should bring more warriors." Thrazzle let out a sound that might have been laughter. "Vexra, when was the last time 5 Kravar needed help against criminals? We are the strongest species in the galaxy. Our presence alone will make them surrender." It was true. For 10,000 years, the Kravar had maintained peace across the galaxy. They were bigger, stronger, and tougher than any other species. Their natural weapons, razor-sharp claws and armored bodies, made them perfect warriors. Most conflicts ended the moment a Kravar warship appeared. Nobody wanted to fight them. Nobody could win. The Galactic Council, a union of 847 different species, depended on the Kravar. When there was trouble, they called the Kravar. When there was war, the Kravar ended it. It was the natural order of things. 20 minutes later, Thrazzle and his team emerged from hyperspace near Mining Colony 749. The colony was a small operation built into an asteroid, mining rare metals for the Council. It should have been safe, protected by its isolation and the Council's reputation. "Sir, I'm detecting another ship," the pilot announced. A small freighter docked at the main entrance. "Not in our database." Thrazzle studied the scanner readings. The ship was old, patched together from different parts, a cargo hauler, most likely. "Scan for life signs inside the colony. Reading 43 hostages in the main chamber, as reported." "But sir, the pirates, I'm only detecting 12 life forms near them, and they appear to be restrained." "Restrained?" Thrazzle leaned forward. "Are you certain?" "Yes, Commander. The pirates are the ones who are tied up." This made no sense. Had the hostages somehow overpowered their captors? Unlikely. The distress signal had been sent only 3 hours ago. No rescue team could have arrived this quickly. The nearest Council security force was 2 days away. "Vexra, I'll take the team and investigate. I want to know what happened." The 5 Kravar warriors entered the colony through the main airlock. Their clawed feet echoed across the metal floors as they moved through the empty corridors. Everything was too quiet. No sounds of fighting, no screams, just silence. They found the hostages first, gathered in the colony's cafeteria. The workers looked tired but unharmed. When they saw the Kravar, many of them relaxed, as if the danger was already over. "Where are the pirates?" Vexra demanded. An older mining supervisor pointed down the corridor. "Storage Bay 3. The humans are guarding them." Humans? Vexra had never heard of this species. "They showed up about an hour ago," the supervisor said. "Said they were passing through when they picked up our distress call. Next thing we knew, all the pirates were unconscious and tied up." The Kravar warriors exchanged glances. This was highly irregular. They moved to Storage Bay 3, weapons ready. What they found confused them even more. 12 creatures stood in the storage bay. They were small, barely over 6 feet tall. Their skin was soft, unarmored, in various shades of brown and pink. They had no natural weapons that Vexra could see. No claws, no fangs, no protective scales. They looked fragile, as if they might break if someone touched them too hard. These were humans. The pirates, 40 of them, sat against the wall with their hands bound behind their backs. They were from different species, all of them stronger looking than the humans. Yet here they were, defeated and complaining about headaches. One of the humans stepped forward. She was smaller than the others, with dark skin and short black hair. She wore a simple jumpsuit covered in oil stains. "You must be the Galactic Council's peacekeepers," she said. "I'm Captain Elena Reeves. We secured the situation for you." Vexra studied her carefully. She showed no fear, despite standing before 5 Kravar warriors who could tear her apart without effort. Either she was incredibly brave or incredibly foolish. "Explain," Vexra commanded. "How did 12 of you defeat 40 armed pirates?" Elena smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "They had hostages. We couldn't let that stand, so we dealt with it." "That is not an explanation." "Fine." Elena pulled out a small device and projected a hologram. "We've been recording everything. Watch." The hologram showed the events from an hour earlier. The humans had approached the colony quietly, docking on the opposite side from the pirates. While the pirates celebrated their successful hostage-taking, the humans infiltrated through maintenance tunnels. Vexra watched as the humans split into teams. They moved silently, communicating through hand signals. They studied the pirates' positions, identifying leaders and weak points. Then they acted. But they did not fight honorably. They did not announce themselves or offer the pirates a chance to surrender. Instead, they used tactics. They cut the power, plunging the colony into darkness. The pirates panicked, firing weapons blindly. While they were confused, humans wearing strange green glowing devices on their heads moved through the darkness like ghosts. They could not see in the dark naturally, so they built tools to help them. The humans used sound to deceive the pirates. They threw objects to create noise in one direction, then attacked from another. They whispered in the darkness, making the pirates think their own allies were betraying them. They used the environment itself, triggering steam leaks and oxygen warnings, to make the pirates fear the colony was failing. One by one, the pirates fell. Some were knocked unconscious by surprise attacks. Others were trapped in rooms or corridors. A few were even talked into surrendering by a human who somehow convinced them their own leader had abandoned them. In 20 minutes, it was over. Not a single hostage was harmed. Not a single human was injured. 40 pirates were captured without a prolonged fight. Vexra stopped the recording. "This is unconventional." "It's effective," Elena replied calmly. "Why fight fair when lives are at stake?" "Because honor demands it," Vexra said, his voice rising. "A warrior faces their enemy directly. They do not hide in shadows and use deception. A warrior protects those who cannot protect themselves," Elena countered. "We did that. The hostages are safe. The pirates are captured. Does it matter how we did it?" Vexra had no answer. By the results, the humans had succeeded, but everything about their methods felt wrong. The Kravar way was to confront enemies with strength and courage, to prove superiority through direct combat. These humans fought like cowards, yet they had won. "Commander Thrazzle will want to speak with you," Vexra finally said. An hour later, Elena stood on the bridge of the Thunderclaw. Commander Thrazzle towered over her, studying the strange new species with intense curiosity. "Your species is not in the galactic database," Thrazzle said. "Where do you come from?" "A planet called Earth. It's in the outer rim far from Council space. We've been exploring nearby systems for the past 20 years. This is our first contact with the wider galactic community. And in your first contact, you defeat 40 pirates without suffering a single casualty." Thrazzle's tone was skeptical. "Your recording shows tactics I have never seen: deception, ambush, psychological manipulation. Is this how your species fights?" "It's how we survive," Elena said. "Earth isn't an easy world, Commander. We don't have armor like yours. We're not the strongest or the fastest, so we learn to be smart. We learn to adapt. We learn to use what we have." "You look weak," Thrazzle stated bluntly. "No natural weapons, soft skin, small size. How did your species ever survive to reach space?" Elena's smile returned. "Would you like a demonstration?" "What do you propose?" "A training exercise. Your warriors against mine. We'll use simulation weapons, non-lethal. A simple scenario: capture the flag. You choose your best 5 warriors. I'll choose 5 from my crew. We'll see which approach works better. The bridge fell silent. Several Kravar officers reacted with surprise. Vexra looked shocked. Even challenging a single Kravar warrior was unusual. Challenging 5 was unheard of. Thrazzle felt something he had not experienced in years. Genuine interest. This human was either very confident or very foolish. Perhaps she did not understand what the Kravar were capable of. Or perhaps she did and simply did not care. You wish to face Kravar warriors in a combat simulation? Thrazzle asked slowly. You understand we are the strongest species in the galaxy. No species has ever defeated us in battle. I understand, Elena said calmly. That's exactly why I'm asking. If we're going to join the Galactic Council someday, we should know how your military operates, and you should know how we fight. What better way than a friendly competition? Thrazzle considered this. Part of him wanted to refuse. The Kravar did not need to prove themselves to anyone. But another part of him was curious. These humans had defeated 40 pirates using methods he found distasteful, but undeniably effective. What would happen in a controlled environment? And if he was being honest with himself? Their confidence irritated him. She stood before him, small, fragile, suggesting that her people could compete with the greatest warriors in the galaxy. It was insulting. Very well, Thrazzle decided. We will arrange a simulation. Standard rules. Non-lethal weapons. Capture the flag scenario. Urban environment. 5 against 5. When you lose, you will understand why the Kravar lead the Council's military. And when we win? Elena asked. If you win, Thrazzle emphasized, then perhaps the galaxy will have something new to learn. Elena extended her hand, a human gesture Thrazzle had seen in the recording. He reached out and grasped her small hand in his massive clawed one, careful not to crush it. Deal. As she left the bridge, Vexra approached his commander. Sir, are you certain about this? Fighting these humans, even in simulation, seems beneath us. Perhaps, Thrazzle admitted. But I want to know if their victory against the pirates was luck or skill. Better to find out now in a controlled environment than to be surprised later. You think they might actually pose a challenge? Thrazzle watched the human captain walk down the corridor, her stride confident despite being surrounded by beings who could easily kill her. I think, he said slowly, that this species has survived for a reason, and I want to know what that reason is. The message spread across council channels. The Kravar had encountered a new species, humans. A training exercise had been scheduled. It would be transmitted live for any council members who wished to observe. Within hours, the news had spread across the galaxy. A new species was going to face the Kravar. This was unprecedented. Many species placed bets. The odds were heavily against the humans. After all, nobody had ever beaten the Kravar. But a few voices, those who had read the reports about the pirate incident, were not so sure. These humans had already done something no other species had managed. They had surprised the Kravar. And in a galaxy that had been stable for 10,000 years, surprises were rare. The simulation facility orbited a neutral station 3 days away from where the humans and Kravar had first met. It was a massive structure used for training exercises by various council military forces. Today, representatives from over 200 species watched through holographic feeds as something historic was about to happen. Commander Thrazzle stood in the observation room, his arms crossed over his broad chest. Beside him, Elena Reeves looked tiny in comparison, yet completely relaxed. On the main screen, 2 teams prepared to enter the simulation. The environment was an abandoned city, filled with buildings, streets, and underground tunnels. Each team started at opposite ends. The goal was simple: capture the enemy's flag and return it to your base. Weapons were set to simulation mode, delivering painful electric shocks instead of lethal damage. 3 shocks and you were eliminated from the exercise. My warriors are the best in the fleet, Thrazzle said as they watched his team prepare. Vexra has 50 years of combat experience. The others are equally skilled. I chose them specifically for this exercise. I'm sure they're excellent, Elena replied calmly. She pointed to her team on the other screen. That's Sergeant Marcus Chun, former Special Forces. The woman with red hair is Lieutenant Sarah Park, explosives expert. The big one is Corporal James Wilson, heavy weapons. And the twins are Lucy and Lisa Martinez, scouts and infiltration specialists. Thrazzle studied the humans. They checked their equipment carefully, speaking in low voices. They seemed calm, professional, but so small, so fragile. One solid hit from a Kravar warrior would eliminate them instantly. Are you prepared to accept defeat? Thrazzle asked. Elena smiled. Are you? The countdown began. Both teams entered the simulation. The abandoned city formed around them, buildings stretching toward a gray sky, broken vehicles scattered across the streets, the air thick with artificial dust and smoke. The Kravar moved immediately. They formed a tight formation and advanced directly toward the human base. This was their standard tactic. Overwhelming force applied directly to the objective. They moved quickly despite their size, their armored bodies creating thunderous impacts with every step. Confidence, one council observer noted. The Kravar are not even attempting stealth. Why would they? Another replied. They have never needed it. The humans, however, had disappeared. Their base appeared empty. The observation feed switched between multiple views, searching for them. Where did they go? Someone asked. Commander Thrazzle leaned forward, now fully interested. The humans had vanished into the city. His warriors were charging toward an empty base. This was already different from what he expected. Vexra noticed it first. Something is wrong, he said through the comms. This is too easy. Stay alert, his second-in-command warned. Remember the pirates. They approached the human base more carefully now. The flag stood in the center of an open plaza, unguarded. It looked like a trap. Do we take it? One warrior asked. We have our orders, Vexra decided. 2 of you secure the flag. The rest, defensive positions. 2 Kravar warriors moved toward the flag. That was when the first trap activated. The ground beneath them erupted, not with real explosives, but with compressed air and foam. The 2 warriors were thrown backward, covered in a sticky substance that made their armor slippery. Before they could recover, simulation rounds struck them from multiple directions. 3 hits each. Eliminated. Ambush, Vexra roared. Find them. But finding the humans proved difficult. They were not standing and fighting like honorable warriors. They were hiding in buildings, firing from windows, then disappearing before the Kravar could respond. They used the city itself as a weapon, positioning themselves perfectly. One Kravar warrior charged into a building where shots had come from. He smashed through the door, ready to face the enemy. Instead, he found an empty room and a small device on the floor. The device detonated in a blinding flash and deafening sound. Before he could recover, simulation rounds struck him from behind. Eliminated. They are separating us, Vexra realized. Stay together. But it was too late. The humans had already split them apart, using noise and movement to draw individual warriors away from the group. Lucy and Lisa Martinez worked in perfect coordination, one creating noise to attract attention while the other flanked from a different angle. The Kravar tried to adapt. They moved into a building to use it as cover just like the humans. But the moment they entered, the lights went out. The humans had cut the power. In the darkness, the Kravar could still see using their natural senses, but the environment was now unfamiliar and confusing. Then the psychological warfare began. Through the building's old speaker system, the humans played sounds. Footsteps running in different directions, doors opening and closing, voices whispering in the Kravar language. Learned phrases designed to cause confusion. Behind you. They are coming, retreat. Ignore it, Vexra commanded. It is just tricks. But the tricks were working. The remaining 2 Kravar warriors were on edge, reacting to every sound, expecting attacks from every shadow. When Marcus Chin finally revealed himself, stepping into view at the end of a corridor, one warrior immediately charged at him. Marcus ran. The Kravar warrior followed, furious at being baited, unable to resist the chase. He was faster, stronger, closing the distance quickly, but he did not see the wire stretched across the hallway at ankle height until it was too late. He tripped. The warrior crashed through a weakened section of the floor, falling into the level below. He landed hard, simulation sensors registering enough impact to count as elimination. Vexra was alone now, 4 of his warriors eliminated without taking down a single human. The shame burned in his chest. This could not be happening. The Kravar never lost. He moved carefully now, abandoning aggressive tactics. If the humans wanted to use stealth and deception, he would be patient. He would wait for them to make a mistake. But the humans did not make mistakes. Instead, they changed tactics. All 5 humans appeared at once, surrounding Vexra's position. They did not hide anymore. They stood in open view, weapons aimed at him from 5 different directions. Vexra could take 1 or 2 of them before being eliminated, but 5? Even for a Kravar, that was impossible. Sarah Park spoke, her voice amplified. You can surrender, or we can eliminate you. Your choice. Rage built inside him. Surrender. No Kravar warrior had ever surrendered in a combat exercise. Never. But continuing would be pointless. He was outnumbered, surrounded, with no path to victory. As he hesitated, James Wilson spoke into his radio. Lisa, how's the flag? Secured, Lisa replied. Heading back to base now. It was over. While Vexra had been dealing with ambushes and traps, 1 human had slipped past everything and captured the Kravar flag. The humans had won. Simulation ended. The automated voice announced. Human team victorious. The observation room erupted into chaos. Species from across the galaxy shouted in surprise, disbelief, and excitement. Many had lost bets. Others demanded to see the recording again, convinced there had been a mistake. Commander Thrazzle stood frozen, staring at the screen. His best warriors, 5 of the most skilled Kravar in the fleet, had been completely defeated. Not a single human eliminated. Perfect victory. How? He asked quietly. Elena stood beside him, watching her team exit the simulation. Your warriors are strong and brave, but you fight the same way every time. Direct assault, overwhelming force, honor-bound tactics. Once we understood your pattern, we adapted. Patterns? Thrazzle turned to her. There is no pattern. Each situation is different. But your response is always the same, Elena explained calmly. You choose the most direct approach. You fight head-on. You value honor over effectiveness. Those are patterns we can predict and exploit. You call our honor a weakness? I call it a limitation, Elena said gently. Commander, you asked how humanity survived despite being weak. This is how. We cannot overpower our enemies, so we outthink them. We cannot win with strength, so we win with strategy. Every disadvantage we have, we turn into an advantage. Thrazzle looked at his defeated warriors on the screen. Vexra was now speaking with the humans, his posture showing both shame and curiosity. The others were examining the traps that had defeated them, trying to understand how they worked. A rematch, Thrazzle said suddenly. We will do this again. My warriors will adapt. We will learn your tactics. Will you? Elena asked quietly. Commander, your entire military doctrine is based on being the strongest. When has anyone ever forced you to change? When have the Kravar ever needed to adapt? The truth struck him hard. For 10,000 years, the Kravar had fought the same way because it always worked. No one had ever given them a reason to change. Until now. What do you want? Thrazzle asked. You have proven your point. Your species has defeated mine in combat. What comes next? Elena was silent for a moment, choosing her words carefully. We don't want to defeat you, Commander. We want to learn from you, and maybe you can learn from us. Humanity is alone out here. We are new to the galaxy. We need allies. And the Kravar, you have maintained peace for 10,000 years. That is something worth respecting. You want an alliance? After humiliating us. I want a partnership, Elena corrected. Think about it, your strength combined with our tactics. Kravar warriors who can adapt to any situation. An unstoppable force with an unstoppable strategy. Thrasil considered this. His pride was wounded deeply, but beneath that pain, there was something else. Fascination. These humans had done the impossible. They had beaten the unbeatable. What else could they do? I will bring this to the Galactic Council, Thrasil decided. Humanity will be considered for membership, and I will recommend joint training operations between human and Kravar forces. You would sponsor us? Elena asked, surprised. Because you defeated us, Thrasil replied. For 10,000 years, the Kravar have protected the galaxy. We have grown comfortable in our strength, perhaps too comfortable. You have reminded me that there is always something new to learn, always a different way to approach problems. He extended his massive clawed hand. Elena shook it, her smaller hand disappearing in his grip. Besides, Thrasil added, something like a smile forming, if we are going to face enemies together, I would rather have humans fighting beside us than against us. The news of humanity's victory spread across the galaxy faster than any starship. A new species, unknown and seemingly weak, had defeated the legendary Kravar warriors. Some species were excited, seeing it as the beginning of a new era. Others were concerned, uncertain about these unpredictable humans. But inside the training facility, 5 humans and 5 Kravar sat together, sharing food and stories. Vexra asked Marcus Chun about Earth's military history. Sarah Park demonstrated proper ambush techniques to a curious Kravar warrior. James Wilson arm-wrestled a Kravar twice his size, and somehow held his own through sheer stubborn determination. Your warrior is losing, Elena noted. But he has not given up, Thrasil replied. Typical human behavior. Very typical, Elena said with a smile. We're not very good at knowing when to quit. That might be useful in a fight. It is. Trust me. Thrasil watched the two species interact. Warriors from different worlds learning from one another. Perhaps the galaxy was ready for change. Perhaps it needed change. And perhaps these strange, weak, stubborn humans were exactly what the galaxy needed. Then we have 6 hours to prepare. Gather all human advisors to the briefing room. I need to see everything we know about the swarm. The briefing was intense. Marcus studied the swarm's attack patterns, watching recordings of the ongoing battles. The swarm was like nothing humanity had ever faced. Thousands of creatures, all controlled by a single intelligence, moving with perfect coordination. They fight like water, Sarah observed. When you push them back in one place, they flow around to another. And they learn, Marcus added. Look here. The first wave uses basic tactics. The second wave, just hours later, has already adapted to Kravar weapons and strategies. So they're getting smarter, James said. Not smarter, Marcus corrected. More informed. They gather data from every encounter. Every time the Kravar use the same tactic, the swarm learns how to counter it. Lucy leaned forward. So what do we do? Marcus was silent for a moment, thinking. The Kravar were losing because they fought predictably. The swarm could learn from predictable tactics. But what if the pattern changed? We need to make them learn the wrong lessons, Marcus said slowly. We show them patterns, then break those patterns. Confuse their collective mind. How? I'm not sure yet, but we need to study their behavior more carefully. There has to be something we can exploit. When they arrived at the combat zone, the situation was worse than expected. One colony had already fallen. The other 2 were barely holding. Swarm ships filled the space around the planets like a cloud of living insects, their organic hulls pulsing with alien life. All ships. This is Commander Thrasil, the Kravar leader announced. We reinforce the defense of Colony World 2. Prepare for engagement. Wait, Marcus said. Commander, permission to speak? Thrasil glanced at him. They had worked together long enough that he trusted the human's instincts. Speak. I've been studying the recordings. I think I see a pattern in the swarm's attacks. May I show you? Thrasil brought up the tactical display. Marcus pointed at the formations. See how they attack. They send waves at defensive positions, testing them. Each wave is slightly different, trying new approaches. When they find a weakness, they exploit it. Yes, we know this. What is your point? The point is, they're learning from every encounter. But what if we do something they can't learn from? Something completely unpredictable. Such as, give me 30 minutes. I think I can identify where their coordination nodes are located. The swarm has no central command, Thrazzle replied. They are a collective. Yes, but even a collective needs coordination. Like a human brain. Individual cells, but certain areas control specific functions. You are guessing. I am hypothesizing, Marcus corrected. Give me 30 minutes. If I'm wrong, we fight your way. If I'm right, we might stop them more effectively. Thrazzle looked at his officers. They were doubtful, but he had learned something from humans. Sometimes crazy ideas worked. 30 minutes, he decided. But if this fails, we do things the Kravar way. Marcus and his team got to work, analyzing swarm movement patterns. They searched for anomalies, patterns within patterns. Sarah noticed it first. That group of ships. They're moving differently. They're not attacking, she continued. They're observing. Marcus zoomed in. She was right. While most of the swarm attacked relentlessly, a small group of larger ships stayed back, moving between combat zones but never engaging directly. Those could be coordinators, Lucy suggested. Processing information and directing the swarm. Can we identify all of them? Marcus asked. They worked frantically, marking every ship with the same behavior. Within 25 minutes, they had identified 17 potential coordination nodes across the battlefield. Marcus brought the data to Thrazzle. These ships, I believe they are local coordination nodes. If we take them out, the swarm in those areas should lose cohesion. You want to ignore the main swarm and target these specific ships? Yes, surgical strikes. Fast and precise. That means leaving defensive positions, taking risks. It means potentially saving both colonies, Marcus replied. The defensive approach isn't working. The swarm is too numerous. But if we disrupt their coordination, even temporarily, it could give the colonies time to evacuate. Thrazzle remained silent for a long moment. This went against everything the Kravar believed in. They held the line. They did not abandon defensive positions. But the line was already breaking. How do you propose we do this? Kravar ships hold the line and draw the swarm's attention. Human pilots slip through and strike the nodes. We're too small to be priority targets. You will be surrounded and outnumbered. Marcus smiled slightly. That's our specialty. Thrazzle made his decision. Do it. And if this fails? Then you can tell me I told you so, Marcus replied. The plan was set in motion. Kravar warships moved forward, drawing the swarm's attention with heavy firepower. Meanwhile, 30 human-piloted fighters launched quietly, using the chaos as cover. Marcus led one squadron. His heart pounded as they flew into the swarm. Alien ships surrounded them, but most focused on the larger Kravar vessels. The humans slipped through unnoticed, small, insignificant. First target identified, Sarah reported. All squadrons prepare to strike, Marcus ordered. On my mark, 30 fighters opened fire on 17 targets simultaneously. The coordination nodes were caught off guard. They were not built for combat, they were command units. Within seconds, all 17 were destroyed or crippled. The effect was immediate. Swarm formations collapsed. Ships stopped moving in coordination, breaking apart into disorganized clusters. Confused. Disoriented. It worked. Vexra's voice came through, filled with surprise. The swarm is breaking apart. All ships advance. Thrazzle commanded. Push them back while they are disorganized. The combined human Kravar forces surged forward. For the first time in days, they were winning. The swarm began to retreat. 2 colonies were saved. When they returned to the flagship, Commander Thrazzle did something unprecedented. He stepped forward, placed his clawed hand over his heart. A Kravar salute of deep respect. You saved those colonies, he said. Your strategy succeeded where ours failed. The council will hear of this. Marcus returned the salute. We fought together, Commander. Your warriors held the line. We simply found a different approach. No, Thrasil said firmly. You found the right approach. That is the difference. The victory was celebrated across the galaxy. For the first time in centuries, someone had discovered an effective counter to the Vin swarm, and it was not the mighty Kravar alone. It was humans working alongside them. 6 months after the victory, humanity was no longer on probation. The Galactic Council granted them full membership. Human advisors were stationed across the galaxy, working with military forces and teaching new tactics and strategies. The old ways were beginning to change. Commander Thrasil walked through a joint training facility on Council Station Prime, watching Kravar warriors practice ambush techniques under human instruction. A year ago, he would have called this disgraceful. Now, he saw it as evolution. The Council requests your presence, Commander. His communications officer reported. Urgent session. All military leaders required. Thrasil felt unease settle in his chest. Urgent sessions were rare and never trivial. Something serious had happened. He found Admiral Marcus Chun already heading toward the council chamber. Any idea what this is about? Marcus asked. None. But if they are calling military leaders specifically, it is not good news. The council chamber was filled with tension when they arrived. The speaker looked older than before, her tentacles drooping with visible strain. We have a situation, she began without delay. 3 days ago, exploration vessels detected unusual energy signatures at the edge of the galaxy, beyond charted space. Yesterday, we lost contact with 3 outer colonies. This morning, we received this transmission. The central display activated. The image was distorted, filled with static, but the message was unmistakable. A colony world was being destroyed, not by any weapon known to humanity or the Council. The planet's surface simply ceased to exist. It was converted into energy and absorbed by massive ships that appeared to be made of crystal and shadow. What are we looking at? Someone asked. A Kravar science officer stepped forward. We sent research teams to investigate the anomalies. They discovered ruins on a dead world nearby. Ancient ruins? Yes. Some symbols match records from extinct civilizations. What did they say? Marcus asked. The officer hesitated. Warnings in dozens of extinct languages, all saying the same thing. Beware the eldest. They sleep beyond the veil. They will return. The chamber erupted in noise. Marcus felt a chill run through him. The eldest? Who are they? The Dvaki, another council member said quietly. Legends. Stories told to children. The ancient ones who supposedly built the first civilizations in this galaxy before disappearing millions of years ago. Apparently, they are not legends, Thrasil said grimly. Those ships destroying our colonies are very real. We attempted first contact, the speaker continued. They responded with a message. We have translated it. Another recording played. The voice was not singular. It was layered, many voices speaking as one, creating a sound that was almost painful to hear. Children of our forgotten garden, we have returned to reclaim what was always ours. You have squandered our gifts, fought among yourselves, forgotten the old ways. Your time is ended. Submit to our guidance, or be removed. You have 10 of your solar cycles to decide. Silence filled the chamber. The meaning was clear. Surrender or die. What is their military capability? Thrasil asked. Unknown, but preliminary analysis suggests technology far beyond ours. Their ships manipulate energy and matter in ways we cannot fully understand. They destroyed 3 star systems in less than a day. Our forces attempted to engage. There were no survivors. Marcus felt his stomach drop. 3 entire systems. Gone. Millions? Billions? The Council's military must respond, a Kravar general declared. We cannot show weakness. We also cannot fight an enemy we do not understand, Marcus countered. We need information. We need to know what we are facing. The human speaks wisely, the speaker agreed. We are gathering all available data. But the reality is simple. The Dvaki possess power we cannot match through conventional warfare. Then we use unconventional warfare, Marcus said. It's what humans do best. Thrasil nodded. The Council military will engage to buy time and gather intelligence. But we must be realistic. This enemy is unlike anything we have faced. Over the following days, more reports arrived. The Dvaki advanced steadily into Council space. Every attempt at communication received the same response: submit or be destroyed. Every military engagement ended in defeat. The Kravar deployed their greatest fleets, warships that had never been beaten. The Dvaki destroyed them effortlessly, converting matter and energy into nothing. It was not war. It was eradication. Panic spread across the galaxy. Species that had lived in peace for 10,000 years now faced extinction. Some argued for surrender. Others demanded resistance to the very end. Marcus and his team worked without rest, analyzing every piece of data on the Dvaki. There had to be a weakness. Everything had one. Their ships are incredibly powerful, Sarah observed. But they move in highly structured formations, almost ritualistic. They're also arrogant, James added. They don't even consider us a threat. They barely adjust their tactics. Because they haven't needed to, Marcus realized. They're so powerful that nothing we do matters to them. They've probably fought this way for millions of years. And it has always worked. So what do we do against an enemy that is truly unstoppable? Lucy asked. Marcus thought of Earth's history. Every impossible war humanity had faced and survived. We don't try to beat them at their own game, he said. We change the game entirely. He pulled up a galactic map. Look at their advance. Slow. Methodical. They're not rushing. Why? Because they don't need to, Vexra said. He now worked alongside the humans, learning their ways. They know we cannot defeat them. Exactly, Marcus replied. They're confident, overconfident. And that's the only weakness we have. He began outlining a plan. It was risky. It was unconventional. It went against everything the Council believed in. But it was their only chance. We cannot defeat them in direct combat, Marcus explained. So we don't fight them directly. We make them believe we're fighting one way, then strike another. We make them uncertain, paranoid, constantly reacting to threats that may not even exist. Psychological warfare, Thrasil said slowly. Against an enemy millions of years old. Why not? Age does not make you immune to doubt. In fact, age can make you more set in your ways, less able to adapt to new threats. Marcus presented his plan to the Council. It was radical. Abandon fixed defensive positions. Split forces into small, mobile units. Use hit-and-run attacks. Turn every system into a trap. Use civilians as intelligence gatherers. Turn trade routes into ambush points. Make the Dvaki pay for every inch of space they take. This is not warfare, one council member protested. This is terrorism. This is survival, Marcus replied. The Dvaki have given us a choice, submit or die. I am proposing a third option. Make them regret ever coming back. Your plan requires the entire galaxy to become a war zone, another member said. Civilian casualties will be enormous. Civilian casualties are already enormous, Marcus said quietly. 3 star systems are gone. Billions are dead, and more will die unless we do something different. The Dvaki expect us to fight honorably, to protect our people, to value peace. We need to show them that we value survival more. The debate raged for hours. Some species refused to participate in such tactics. Others reluctantly agreed. But enough voted in favor that Marcus was given military command authority, something no non-Kravar had ever received. You understand what you are asking us to do? Thrasil said privately after the vote. You are asking the Kravar to abandon honor, to fight like cowards. I am asking you to fight like humans, Marcus corrected. To survive. Is that not honorable? Thrasil was silent for a long time. Finally, he said, "When this is over, if we survive, the galaxy will never be the same. The peace we maintained for 10,000 years, the honor we fought with, all of it will be gone." "Yes," Marcus agreed, "but the people will still be alive. Is that not worth it?" "I do not know," Threzel admitted. "But I trust you, human. You have not been wrong yet." The new strategy was implemented immediately. Council forces were reorganized into small strike teams. Humans trained other species in guerrilla tactics, ambush techniques, and psychological operations. Entire star systems were prepared as traps. The Dvaki continued their advance, but now they faced something different. A fleet would arrive at a system expecting a fight, only to find it abandoned. But when they moved to claim it, explosives would detonate, systems would overload, or ships would emerge from hiding to strike and vanish. It was not doing much damage. The Dvaki were still too powerful. But it was slowing them down, making them cautious, making them think. And thinking was the first step toward doubt. Commander Thraxel led a Kravar strike team on a mission that would have been unthinkable a year ago. They were abandoning a colony world, letting the Dravaki take it. But before they left, they filled the infrastructure with traps, rigged the power systems to overload, and poisoned the resource deposits. "This feels wrong," Vexrel said as they prepared to evacuate. "I know," Threxel replied. "But Marcus is right. If we fight their way, we lose. If we fight our way, we die. So we fight a new way." They watched from a distance as the Dvaki fleet arrived at the abandoned colony. The aliens began claiming the resources, converting them into energy for their ships. Then the traps activated. The entire colony exploded in a chain reaction. Several Dravaki ships were caught in the blast. They survived, their shields protecting them, but they were damaged, hurt, and, more importantly, surprised. "First blood," Thraxel said quietly. "Perhaps the eldest can bleed after all." Across the galaxy, similar events unfolded. The Dravaki found themselves fighting an enemy that refused to engage properly. Ships appeared and disappeared. Resources they claimed were worthless or dangerous. Colonies were empty or trapped. Trade routes led to ambushes. It was not defeating the Dravaki, but it was frustrating them. And frustration led to anger. Anger led to mistakes. Marcus watched the reports coming in. The Dvaki were changing their tactics, becoming more aggressive, sending larger forces to smaller targets. They were overreacting, overextending, trying to stamp out an enemy that would not stand still long enough to be destroyed. "It is working," Sarah said. "They are getting impatient." "Not enough," Marcus replied. "We are slowing them down, but they are still winning. We need something bigger, something that will make them truly afraid." "How do you scare beings that have existed for millions of years?" James asked. Marcus pulled up intelligence reports on Dravaki behavior. He studied their movements, their communications, their patterns. There had to be something. Some fear, some weakness they did not even know they had. And then he saw it. "They are dividing their forces," Marcus said slowly. "Look, they started with one massive fleet. Now they are spreading out, trying to cover more territory. They are reacting to our tactics by splitting up." "Is that not good for us?" Lucy asked. "It is exactly what we need," Marcus said with a grim smile. "They are adapting to fight us, which means they see us as a threat, which means they are not as confident anymore. And if they are not confident, they can be beaten." "It is time for Phase 2, Marcus continued. "We have made them angry. Now we make them afraid." Admiral Marcus Chin stood before the largest military gathering in galactic history. Representatives from 400 species filled the massive briefing hall, all waiting to hear the plan that would either save them or doom them to extinction. "The Dvaki believe they are invincible," Marcus began. "They have believed it for millions of years. That belief is their weakness." A holographic display showed the Dravaki fleet positions. They had divided their forces, spreading across Council territory in multiple groups. Each group was still powerful enough to destroy anything in its path, but they were no longer concentrated. "Over the past weeks, we have shown them that we will not fight conventionally. They have adapted by dividing their forces to cover more territory. This is good. But now we take it further. We are going to make them afraid of their own shadows. How? Commander Thraxel asked. He looked different now. The proud warrior had learned to embrace tactics he once would have called dishonorable. War had changed him as it had changed all of them. Operation Madhouse, Marcus announced. We are going to launch a series of attacks that make absolutely no strategic sense. We will sacrifice resources, ships, even entire fleets in ways that appear completely irrational. The goal is not to win battles. The goal is to make the Dvaki believe we are unpredictable, possibly insane, and therefore dangerous in ways they cannot calculate. The room erupted in confused voices. Sarah Park stepped forward. The Dvaki think logically. They have spent millions of years using pure logic and superior technology to dominate. They expect us to protect our most valuable assets, defend our most important worlds, and retreat when we cannot win. We are going to do the opposite. She pulled up a tactical map. We will abandon heavily defended worlds without a fight. Then we will send massive forces to reclaim worthless systems. We will sacrifice expensive warships to destroy minor Dravaki scout ships. We will broadcast false intelligence that contradicts itself. We will make them think every action might be a trap. Every retreat might be a feint. Every victory might be part of a larger plan they do not understand. You want to make them paranoid, a council member said. Exactly, Marcus confirmed. Paranoia makes you second-guess everything. It makes you slow down, become cautious, waste resources on threats that might not exist. And while they are busy trying to understand our insanity, we will be positioning for the real attack. James Wilson took over, showing fleet deployments. We have been secretly moving forces for weeks. Small ships hiding in asteroid fields, dead zones, anywhere the Dvaki would not look. Thousands of ships, all waiting. The Dravaki do not know they are surrounded because they are not looking for an attack. They think they are hunting us. When they are sufficiently confused and divided, Marcus continued, we launch simultaneous strikes on every Dravaki group at once. Not to destroy them, that is impossible, but to hit their command ships and communications. We have identified the ships that coordinate their fleets. If we can take those out, even temporarily, the Dravaki forces will lose cohesion. Just like we did with the Vin Swarm, Vexel noted. Exactly. The principle is the same. Find the coordination nodes, eliminate them, create chaos. But the Dvaki are not the swarm, Thraxel pointed out. Their technology is far superior. Getting close enough to strike their command ships will be nearly impossible. Marcus nodded. Repeat version, clean and ready to use. Why not? Age does not make you immune to doubt. In fact, age can make you more set in your ways, less able to adapt to new threats. Marcus presented his plan to the council. It was radical. Abandon fixed defensive positions. Split forces into small, mobile units. Use hit-and-run attacks. Turn every system into a trap. Use civilians as intelligence gatherers. Turn trade routes into ambush points. Make the Dvaki pay for every inch of space they take. This is not warfare, one council member protested. This is terrorism. This is survival, Marcus replied. The Dravaki have given us a choice, submit or die. I am proposing a third option. Make them regret ever coming back. Your plan requires the entire galaxy to become a war zone, another member said. Civilian casualties will be enormous. Civilian casualties are already enormous, Marcus said quietly. 3 star systems are gone. Billions are dead, and more will die unless we do something different. The Dvaki expect us to fight honorably, to protect our people, to value peace. We need to show them that we value survival more. The debate raged for hours. Some species refused to participate in such tactics. Others reluctantly agreed. But enough voted in favor that Marcus was given military command authority, something no non-Kravar had ever received. You understand what you are asking us to do? Threzel said privately after the vote. You are asking the Kravar to abandon honor, to fight like cowards. I am asking you to fight like humans, Marcus corrected. To survive. Is that not honorable? Threzel was silent for a long time. Finally, he said, "When this is over, if we survive, the galaxy will never be the same. The peace we maintained for 10,000 years, the honor we fought with, all of it will be gone." "Yes," Marcus agreed, "but the people will still be alive. Is that not worth it?" "I do not know," Threzel admitted. "But I trust you, human. You have not been wrong yet." The new strategy was implemented immediately. Council forces were reorganized into small strike teams. Humans trained other species in guerrilla tactics, ambush techniques, and psychological operations. Entire star systems were prepared as traps. The Dvaki continued their advance, but now they faced something different. A fleet would arrive at a system expecting a fight, only to find it abandoned. But when they moved to claim it, explosives would detonate, systems would overload, or ships would emerge from hiding to strike and vanish. It was not doing much damage. The Dvaki were still too powerful. But it was slowing them down, making them cautious, making them think. And thinking was the first step toward doubt. Which is why we are not getting close. We are already close. We have been planting saboteurs on Dravaki-controlled worlds for weeks. Human volunteers, specially trained, have been infiltrating Dravaki ships, learning their systems, placing charges, and programming viruses. When we give the signal, they will activate everything at once. The room went silent. The implications were staggering. "You sent humans to infiltrate Dravaki ships?" someone asked. "That is a suicide mission." "It is," Marcus agreed quietly. Every volunteer knew they probably would not come back. But they went anyway, because this is the only way to get inside the Dravaki defenses. Sarah's voice was steady, but Marcus could hear the emotion beneath it. "We have 67 teams deployed across Dravaki territory, engineers, soldiers, hackers. They have been sending us intelligence about Dravaki systems and weaknesses. When Operation Madhouse begins, they will sabotage every Dravaki ship they can reach." Thraxel felt something he rarely experienced. Awe. Humans were fragile, weak creatures, yet they were willing to sacrifice themselves in ways even the Kravar found difficult to comprehend. "Your people walk into death knowingly. Our people walk into death hoping," Marcus corrected. "Hoping that their sacrifice means something, hoping that someone else gets to live. That is very human." The plan was approved. There were objections, concerns, and fears, but there were no better options. The Dravaki were still advancing, still destroying worlds. Time was running out. Operation Madhouse began. The first phase was chaos. Council forces launched attacks that seemed random and senseless. They abandoned heavily defended core worlds without explanation, pulling all military forces back. The Dravaki, confused, moved in to claim them. But when they arrived, the worlds were empty, stripped of anything useful, filled with traps that served no purpose except to waste the Dvaki's time. Meanwhile, Council fleets launched desperate assaults on meaningless asteroid fields and empty systems. They fought with fury over resources that were worthless. They sent expensive warships on suicide runs against minor Dravaki patrols. The Dravaki could not understand it. Why were the Council forces acting irrationally? Why sacrifice so much for so little gain? Every new encounter made less sense than the last. Intercepted communications showed increasing confusion. Dvaki commanders argued among themselves, trying to identify a pattern. But there was no pattern to find. That was the point. "They are slowing down," Sarah reported 3 weeks into the operation. "Dravaki fleet movements are becoming more cautious. They are sending scout ships ahead, checking systems multiple times before committing forces. We have gotten into their heads." "How are our saboteur teams?" Marcus asked. Sarah's expression darkened. 17 teams have been discovered and eliminated, but the remaining 50 have successfully infiltrated key Dvaki vessels. They are in position and awaiting orders. 50 teams out of 67. Marcus felt each loss like a physical blow. Those were people under his command, people who had trusted him, people who were never coming home. "We honor their sacrifice by finishing this," Thraxel said, reading Marcus' expression. "They gave their lives so others could survive. That is the highest honor any warrior can achieve." Marcus nodded. He could grieve later. Right now, he had a job to finish. The second phase began. Hidden fleets emerged from their hiding places simultaneously across the galaxy. Thousands of ships from dozens of species moved at once. The Dravaki, already paranoid and confused, suddenly found themselves surrounded. At the same moment, the saboteur teams activated their programs. 67 people, scattered across Dvaki ships and installations, triggered every trap they had spent weeks preparing. Explosives detonated. Computer viruses spread. Power systems overloaded. Shields failed. Communication arrays went offline. Not all of it worked. The Dvaki technology was sophisticated enough to counter many of the attacks. But enough worked. Enough chaos was created. And in that chaos, the Council forces struck. Marcus commanded from the flagship, coordinating hundreds of battles simultaneously. Every species fought according to their strengths. The Kravar led brutal assault teams. The Zithian energy manipulators disrupted Dvaki shields. The Vero-Ian telepaths confused enemy communications. And humans were everywhere, adapting to situations as they developed, finding weaknesses, exploiting opportunities. Dvaki command ship in Sector 7 is exposed, a tactical officer reported. Shields are down from sabotage. All nearby forces converge on that position, Marcus ordered. Take it out. 3 separate fleets hammered the exposed command ship. It was still incredibly powerful, destroying dozens of council vessels, but without shields it could be damaged, and damage meant doubt. One by one, Dravaki command ships fell or retreated. The coordination that had made them invincible began to break down. Individual Dvaki groups found themselves isolated, cut off from central command, uncertain what to do. And uncertainty was death in combat. They are retreating, Thraxel reported with disbelief. The Dravaki group in Sector 12 is pulling back. All forces pursue, Marcus commanded. Do not let them regroup. Keep the pressure on. The battle raged for 18 hours. It was the longest, bloodiest combat the galaxy had ever seen. Millions died. Hundreds of ships were destroyed. Entire fleets were lost. But slowly, impossibly, the Dravaki were being pushed back. The turning point came when a young human pilot named Jennifer Torres, leading a squadron through a debris field, spotted something no one else had noticed. A pattern in the Dvaki retreat. "Admiral," she reported, "I think I found their rally point. They are regrouping somewhere beyond our sensors." "Can you identify the location?" Marcus asked. "Negative. But if we track their retreat vectors and extrapolate." She sent the data. Marcus studied it quickly. That is where they came from, he realized. That is their staging area. If they hit it, the war was over. Marcus sat in his command chair, exhausted beyond measure. Around him, officers were celebrating, crying, or simply collapsing in relief. They had won against impossible odds, against an enemy older and more powerful than anything the galaxy had ever known. They had won. "Casualties?" he asked quietly. Sarah's voice was heavy. "Preliminary estimates: 12 million military personnel dead, 40 worlds severely damaged or destroyed, 300 billion civilian casualties." The numbers were staggering. The cost of victory was almost too high to bear. And the saboteur teams? Marcus forced himself to ask. 11 survivors out of 67 teams. The rest are confirmed lost. Marcus closed his eyes. 56 teams. Which is why we are not getting close. We are already close. We have been planting saboteurs on Dravaki-controlled worlds for weeks. Human volunteers, specially trained, have been infiltrating Dravaki ships, learning their systems, placing charges, and programming viruses. When we give the signal, they will activate everything at once. The room went silent. The implications were staggering. "You sent humans to infiltrate Dravaki ships?" someone asked. "That is a suicide mission." "It is," Marcus agreed quietly. Every volunteer knew they probably would not come back. But they went anyway, because this is the only way to get inside the Dravaki defenses. Sarah's voice was steady, but Marcus could hear the emotion beneath it. "We have 67 teams deployed across Dravaki territory, engineers, soldiers, hackers. They have been sending us intelligence about Dravaki systems and weaknesses. When Operation Madhouse begins, they will sabotage every Dravaki ship they can reach. Thraxel felt something he rarely experienced. Awe. Humans were fragile, weak creatures, yet they were willing to sacrifice themselves in ways even the Kravar found difficult to comprehend. Your people walk into death knowingly. Our people walk into death hoping, Marcus corrected. Hoping that their sacrifice means something, hoping that someone else gets to live. That is very human. The plan was approved. There were objections, concerns, and fears, but there were no better options. The Dravaki were still advancing, still destroying worlds. Time was running out. 300 people, give or take. People who had walked into certain death because he had asked them to. People who would never see their homes again. They saved us all, Thraxel said, his hand resting on Marcus's shoulder. Without their sacrifice, we would have lost. I know, Marcus whispered. That does not make it easier. The aftermath took months to sort out. The Dravaki, defeated and humbled, were placed under council supervision. Their technology would be studied. Their knowledge would be shared. But they would never again threaten the galaxy. The council itself was transformed. The old hierarchy, with the Kravar as enforcers and other species as followers, was gone. Now every species had equal voice. Military doctrine was rewritten. Humans trained forces across the galaxy in adaptive tactics. The Kravar learned that strength came in many forms. Commander Thraxel was promoted to Supreme Military Commander of the entire Council Defense Force. His first act was to create a new division, Asymmetric Warfare, led by Admiral Marcus Chen. 1 year after the war ended, Thraxel and Marcus stood together in the Memorial Garden on Council Station Prime. Before them stretched a wall of names. Every person who had died in the war. 300 billion names. The galaxy is different now, Thraxel said. We are no longer the peaceful civilization we were. We have learned to fight with deception, with guerrilla tactics, with methods we once would have called dishonorable. Yes, Marcus agreed. Nothing will ever be the same. Do you regret it, teaching us these methods? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. I regret the deaths. I regret the cost. But I do not regret survival. Earth's history is full of dark moments, terrible wars, horrific choices. We learned that sometimes the only way to protect the innocent is to become something you do not want to be. That is the burden of survival, the burden of being human. Maybe, Thraxel said, or maybe it is just the burden of being alive in a universe that is not always kind. They stood in silence, reading names. So many names. Species from across the galaxy united in death, if not always in life. The Dravaki are requesting an audience, Thraxel said eventually. They want to speak with you specifically. Why me? Because you are the one who defeated them. You are the one who showed them that age and power are not everything. They want to understand how they were beaten. Marcus followed Thraxel to a private meeting room. The Dravaki representative was there, a being of shifting light and shadow, ancient and patient. Human. The Dravaki spoke, its voice like wind through crystal. You defeated us in ways we did not anticipate. We have existed for millions of years. We have conquered thousands of species. Yet you, barely evolved beyond your own world, found weaknesses we did not know we had. You assumed you were invincible, Marcus replied. That was your weakness. More than that, he continued. You fought irrationally. You sacrificed when there was no strategic gain. You chose actions that made no logical sense. We could not predict you because you did not follow the patterns of rational beings. We followed the pattern of desperate beings, Marcus corrected. When you have nothing to lose, you try anything. When you are scared enough, logic stops mattering. Survival becomes the only goal. The Dravaki were silent, processing this. You have taught the galaxy something dangerous, it said finally. Before, species fought with honor, with logic, with restraint. Now they know how to fight without limits. The galaxy will be a more violent place because of you. Maybe, Marcus admitted, but it will be an alive place. Better a violent galaxy than an extinct one. You believe that truly? That any method is justified if it achieves survival. Marcus thought about Earth's history, wars, atrocities, dark chapters humanity wished it could forget. I believe that when someone threatens to exterminate you, you have the right to fight back with everything you have. You gave us no choice, Dravaki. You came back after millions of years and demanded submission or death. What did you expect us to do? We expected you to lose, the Dravaki admitted, as all others have lost. Then you did not understand humanity. We have been losing since we first stood upright on Earth. We lost to predators, to diseases, to nature itself. We have been fighting for survival for our entire existence. Losing is not new to us, but giving up, that is something we never learned how to do. The Dravaki seemed to consider this. Perhaps that is why you survived when others did not. Not because you are strong, but because you refused to accept defeat. Maybe, Marcus said, or maybe we are just too stupid to know when we are beaten. After the Dravaki left, Thraxel found Marcus staring out at the stars. What are you thinking? I am thinking about the future, Marcus replied. The galaxy has changed. We showed everyone how to survive against impossible odds. But we also showed them how to fight without mercy, how to win without honor, how to do terrible things for good reasons. I am not sure if that is a gift or a curse. It is both, Thraxel said. But it is necessary. The galaxy was too peaceful, too comfortable. We had forgotten that survival sometimes requires hard choices. You reminded us. And now we rebuild. We train. We prepare. Because somewhere out there, beyond our galaxy, there might be other threats. And when they come, we will be ready. Not just the Kravar, but all of us together. Marcus nodded. Together. I like that. In the months that followed, the galaxy slowly transformed. Militaries taught human tactics alongside traditional methods. Species that had relied solely on strength learned to value strategy. Warriors who had fought with honor learned when honor had to be set aside. And Earth, tiny Earth on the edge of known space, became the center of military innovation. Humans trained instructors, wrote doctrines, and shared their darkest knowledge of how to survive against superior enemies. Commander Thraxel returned to Earth once, wanting to understand where these impossible humans came from. Marcus took him to a museum, showing him Earth's history, the wars, the genocides, the near extinctions, the countless times humanity should have died but somehow survived. Your entire history is struggle, Thraxel observed, looking at exhibits showing everything from ancient predators to world wars. Yes, Marcus agreed. We evolved on a planet that was trying to kill us. We spent thousands of years fighting each other. We nearly destroyed ourselves multiple times. Every generation faced something that should have ended us, but we kept going. We adapted. We survived. That is why you are so good at war, Thraxel said. You have been at war with existence itself since the beginning. Maybe, Marcus said, or maybe we just never had the luxury of peace long enough to forget how to fight. Thraxel looked at a display showing human soldiers through the ages. Warriors from different eras, different wars, but all with the same expression in their eyes. Determination, stubbornness, refusal to quit. The galaxy was stronger before we met you, Thraxel said quietly. We had the Kravar, the mightiest warriors. We had peace that lasted 10,000 years. We had honor and logic. And now, Marcus asked, now we have something else. We have survival. We have adaptability. We have the knowledge that when everything else fails, we can still fight. We can still win. But we also have something darker, the knowledge of what we are capable of when pushed to the edge. Does that frighten you? Yes, Thraxel admitted. But it also gives me hope. Because if we can defeat the Dravaki, we can survive anything. They stood together in the museum, a Kravar warrior and a human admiral, looking at the history of a species that had clawed its way from caves to starships through sheer stubborn refusal to die. Nothing in the galaxy will ever be the same, Thraxel said finally. No, Marcus agreed. But we are alive to see it. That has to count for something. And across the galaxy,